Hi guys, this is Mark. In all of the functionality and examples we have reviewed so far, we were getting data from the database without any conditions. We would restrict and constrain the requests that we were making to say that we want only specific properties or exclude certain properties, get data sorted or non-sorted, but we were getting all of the records. And for some use cases, this is definitely useful. You may want to get all of the records that exist in a data table. But for many other use cases, you would want to specify a condition that the records that you want to get would need to meet. And that's what makes the database super powerful. The actual condition that you could specify in your query in Backendless we call where clause. And the history for that term comes from actually SQL, because if you take a look at the structure of an SQL query, it has a part that is called where. And then what follows where is a condition that the database uses to identify all of the records that meet that condition. And those are the records that are being returned. So since the structure of that condition in Backendless follows pretty much the same rules that where clause in SQL, we also call it where clause. The where clause that you specify could be either very, very simple, and we will go through the structure, or it could get very complex because the database supports really infinite number of permutations for the kind of things that you can identify in the where clause. Let's take a look at the where clause structure in the most primitive sense. For this, I have a slide, and this is the structure. So in the most primitive sense, in your where clause, you would be identifying column name, and you would basically just put the name of the column followed by an operator and the value. And this is where data types that we have been discussing come in very handy and very important. Let's review a couple of examples here. So for instance, if the column name is category, and in the product table that you already have, there is a column called category that contains string values. So if you want to get all the records where the category is widget, your where clause would literally say category equals widget. And notice that the widget is in double quotes because the category column is of the string type. Therefore, the value that you put in the where clause must be in the same kind of formatting that the type of that corresponding column is. So, and then another example would be rating. In the same product table, there's a column called rating, which is either an integer or a double. I'm not sure. It is a numeric type. And for instance, if you want to get all the records where the rating is greater than 4, and you would literally say rating greater than 4, and then the 4 would be a number without quotes because it is a numeric column. And in the most primitive sense, it just goes like this. We will run these examples in Backendless console, and you will see exactly how it works. It can get more complex because sometimes you would need to have more complex queries. So for instance, you could actually combine these conditions for individual columns together using and or logical operators. So for instance, with the same category and rating example, you could say category equals widget and rating greater than 4, and then you would get all the records where that meet that specific condition. Let's take a look at how it would work in Backendless console and in your applications. So here in Backendless console, there are two different ways that you can run and test your queries. And this is a very, very important that we see a lot of developers don't do, is actually testing your where clause before you start using it in your application. And you can do it either here in Data Browser, for instance, and make sure that SQL search is enabled. Whenever it is enabled, then whatever you type in here will be treated as where clause. So for instance, rating, and rating, by the way, the data type is decimal, as you can see right here. So if we want to get all the records where rating greater than 4, type it up and then click go. And then now we got all the records where rating is greater than 4. If you want it greater or equal 4, just use greater than or equal. click go, and now we got some that are actually 4. If you also want to get all the records that have the category, let's say widget, as we just had in the slides, type in and say category equals widget. Click go. So now we have all the records where the category is widget and rating is greater than or equal 4. And that's how it goes. And you could have multiple columns referenced in the same where clause grouped with and or. And by the way, if you want to give it a precedence, you can put it in in parentheses and then just go with something else. Let's say or price greater than 50. Click go, and now we have this as well. So as you can see, now we have a couple of products that are not widget, like for instance in the category gadget or whatever, or gizmo, and then where the rating is actually 0, but the price is greater than 50. So this way you can combine references to multiple columns in your where clause. You can take this where clause, and in fact this is the recommended approach for when you start building your applications, and switch to REST console. And here in REST console there is a field called where you can actually type up your where clause, put it in here, click get, and then you will be getting data that matches that particular condition. So here you will see the response. Notice that in the actual endpoint URL there is a parameter called where, and then followed by the equals sign and the actual where clause that is here URL encoded. So when you use REST, URL encoded. And if you're not familiar with URL encoding, just Google URL encoding. There are pages online where you can provide it a string and it will perform URL encoding. And most of the applications, web applications, or if you use our SDKs, will automatically do it for you. So the concept is very simple, but it can get complex because schemas are different and the conditions that you could express could be very, very different. This could get even more complex, and we'll be reviewing this with functions, and that's going to be reviewed in one of the videos that will follow. As far as using it in the API, let's take a look at how that would work. So for this, I will switch to UI Builder, and we will use exactly the same page that we already had that retrieves data from the product table. Let's go into the logic, and in here for this codeless block there is a where clause connector, and this connector expects a string, so we'll just use one of these blocks connected to where clause, and here we can say category equals widget. And I put widget in single quotes because the whole where clause is going to be a string, so any string references will need to be in single quotes. So if we run that logic now, then all of the products that we got are in the widget category. So as you can see, that where clause is operating exactly as we expected. So in this, once again, could get very, very complex, and we'll be reviewing different examples as we go through our course. One of the most important things that I want to reiterate is that the data type of the value, like here we have column name, operator, and then the value. So the value needs to be formatted according to the rules of the actual data type that this column that you're referencing represents. So if it is a string, single quotes. If it is a number, then it's just going to be numeric. If it is a Boolean value, then you need to compare it with a true or false value. If it is a date, then it has to be date, and we'll take a look at the date formatting as well. But that's all I wanted to share as far as this video. The implications of this are huge because that's what really makes the backendless database super, super powerful, and there is a lot that we will be learning in the course of the coming lectures. I hope this was useful. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy coding.